Chicago voters are heading to the polls Tuesday in a competitive 9-candidate race for mayor that has centered on crime and policing in a city overwhelmed by gun violence. The contest is widely expected to go to a runoff, and embattled incumbent Mayor Lightfoot is not guaranteed to make the cut. Former Chicago Public Schools CEO Paul Vallas, who secured the endorsement of the police union, has amassed a strong base of support, and political experts in the city believe he will be the top vote-getter, but won't receive the 50% needed to win outright. If no one gets 50%, the top two finishers will face off in an April 4th runoff election and, because the competition to make it into the runoff is expected to be extremely close, the results may not be known for several weeks. To secure the number 2 slot in the runoff, Lightfoot will need to outperform Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson, D., and U.S. Representative Jesus Chuy Garcia, Democrat Illinois, who appear to be her most formidable opponents for second place. When Lightfoot won her first race in 2019, she capitalized on corruption scandals besetting Chicago Democratic politics and positioned herself as an outsider who could shake up the city. Veteran Chicago political strategist Delmarie Cobb said that she was able to elevate herself by being different. Now she's part of the establishment, but she also ran on being a change agent and then didn't live up to a lot of issues that progressives were really counting on. As of midday, Election Day turnout was sluggish in the morning hours, indicating many voters had made up their mind early and cast ballots during early voting or with vote by mail. Max Bever, a spokesperson for the Chicago Board of Elections, told reporters Tuesday. Polls close at 7 p.m. Central Time. Bever said that if Election Day turnout remains sluggish, I know the eyes will remain on those mail-in ballots. This election has seen a significant uptick in early voting, which began February 13th, has risen steadily this year, and mail-in voting has surged. As of Sunday night, 109,039 ballots had been cast in early voting. By contrast, in the 2 days before the 2019 general election, 102,058 early ballots were cast. Vote by mail numbers have increased by roughly 116%. The Chicago Board of Elections has until March 14th to count mail-in ballots postmarked by Election Day. Johnson, who is running as the more liberal choice, has had a last-minute surge, according to Cobb. She said both Johnson and Vallas have run disciplined campaigns and stayed on message while Lightfoot has floundered. A former 60-year-old prosecutor, Lightfoot, faced a runoff in 2019, ultimately securing 73% of the vote and winning every ward in the city, making history as Chicago's first mayor to be a black woman or openly gay. In the years since, Lightfoot has struggled with low approval ratings as she's navigated deadly violence on the streets and ushered the city through the coronavirus pandemic and the subsequent economic fallout on city businesses. Co-founder of Snyder Pickerel Media Group, a Chicago-based Democratic firm, Ken Snyder said that, one of these things has to be true, that things are really going in the right direction in your city or you have to be incredibly likable, and she has a problem with both. Larry Williamson, a Lightfoot supporter from North Lawndale on the west side of Chicago, said in a recent interview that he felt it was misguided for voters to blame Lightfoot for the spike in crime as she has had to face the fallout from the pandemic and came into office after decades of lack of investment in certain communities. He credits her with having supported investment in infrastructure in his neighborhood, which had been ignored. But others disagree. At a polling place in Wicker Park, an area that has rapidly gentrified over the past 2 decades and is now home to many affluent white-collar professionals, Pilar Lizasoen, 35, was voting in a mayoral election for the first time since moving to the city 4 years ago. She said she's been frustrated by crime in her neighborhood, noting that she's witnessed 2 carjackings that took place in broad daylight. Lizasoen, who voted for Vallas, said that, "We need a new mayor who supports the police." With shootings up in many Chicago neighborhoods, Vallas has capitalized on voters feeling that Lightfoot's tenure has not made them safer. Vallas, 69, who is the only white person in the race, is backed by the Fraternal Order of Police. He has appealed to voters with a message largely centered on public safety and a plan to deploy hundreds more officers on Chicago's streets. Jackson, who survived last year's 4th of July shooting in suburban Highland Park, said he was particularly interested in public safety and concerned about issues that are affecting both city police, like the high suicide rate among officers, and residents, who see officers sent to handle mental health crises or domestic issues for which they aren't trained or equipped. He didn't back Lightfoot in 2019 and has remained unimpressed with her poor relationships with the city's public school teachers and police, but he conceded that she's faced difficult challenges because her tenure overlapped with the coronavirus pandemic and civil unrest. Jackson said he would be voting his conscience this round, likely selecting one of the candidates not expected to reach the runoff. The mayor's race is officially nonpartisan, but all 9 candidates are Democrats. Lightfoot has positioned herself as the centrist candidate, accusing Vallas of secretly being a Republican and Johnson of wanting to defund the police. Johnson, like many on the left, has discussed reallocating public safety dollars to social programs such as mental health. Is hoping that support among more moderate to Republican-leaning voters in the Northwest and Southwest sides will give him the edge over his competitors. While he has proclaimed himself a lifelong Democrat, he also has received campaign contributions from conservative donors. Vallas, who led the city school system from 1995 to 2001, also ran for mayor in 2019, but failed to make the runoff. Johnson, 46, a former teacher, won the support of, and nearly $1 million in donations from, the powerful Chicago Teachers Union, a group that has been at odds with Lightfoot since going on an 11-day strike in 2019 and another work stoppage in 2022 over COVID safety policies. Garcia, 66, who is a veteran of Chicago Democratic politics and was first elected to Congress in 2018, also ran for Chicago mayor in 2015, and marshaled support from the far left to force Emanuel, the incumbent, into runoff. This time, Garcia is looking to be buoyed by the booming Latino voter base in a city that has never had a Latino mayor. Garcia also hopes to pick up black and white voters who generally align with Lightfoot's policies but are dissatisfied with her performance. The other 5 candidates in the race, who are all black, are local businessman Willie Wilson, State Representative Kim Buckner, civil rights activist Jamal Green, and City Council members Sophia King and Roderick Sawyer. Runoffs had not been in the norm in Chicago mayoral races. The city began using that model in 1999, but Daley won with a large majority of the vote that year and in his 2 re-elections in 2003 and 2007. Emanuel won outright in 2011, but his re-election in 2015 and Lightfoot's first race in 2019 both went to runoffs. For the result day, please stay tuned with us and subscribe our channel so that you can get timely notification.